I want to thank you for inviting the League to be here this evening to share this information. And as I warned you, sometimes when she tries to share a document, I get lost. And it's not letting me come in. So it'll take me a second to get back to where we were. And I'm back. And I apologize for that. Ashley has put up with a great deal with my antiquated knowledge of computers and how they work. So thank you for your patience. And again, we appreciate this opportunity to talk to people about voting because it is critically important, not just this year, but at every election. If you're not familiar with the League of Women Voters, we do not support any candidate nor any political party. We have, it's our 100th anniversary this year. For the 100 years we've been in existence, our purpose has been to try to educate people how to get registered to vote, how to get to the polling places, how to find out about candidates, and to be able to exercise this right that is so important in America. So that's what we're trying to do tonight, answer any questions you may have, because it's been a very complicated year in what the rules are and what the rules are not. So we will try and clear up as much of that as we can. So Ashley's going to help me by moving to the next slide now. I should mention on there, if you saw, this is as of September 20th, because there have been many lawsuits and there have been many legislative actions to try to make the voting process better. This is current as of the 20th of September because there was a court decision over the weekend that it changed some things. So it's as current as we can get, and hopefully there won't be more changes between now and November 3rd. The first thing we always like to start with is why vote? Why is it important to do this? Who cares? And we turn to the point that elected officials decide a lot of things. People get really excited about this year. It's a president being elected, but that position probably affects you less than a lot of other positions at lower levels at local elections. And these are some of the things these elected officials decide. Minimum wage rates within states, not the president. Within the state, they decide the minimum wage rates. Job safety standards, yes, at national, but some within the state as well. Criminal justice issues, healthcare and insurance programs, tax rates. Yes, federal government's going to tax you, but so is the state of Pennsylvania. So is Dauphin County. So is your local township or borough or city. So all of the people you're electing, even at those lower levels, affect you in a number of these ways. So regardless of which side of these issues you sit on, these elected officials are making decisions, and you want to make sure that you are voting for people who share your side of the particular issue because you want to see them enact the things that are important to you. So it's very important, regardless of which election it is, that we take it seriously and we go and vote. So we can, next slide. So voting is easy as 1, 2, 3. First of all, you need to register to vote. Second, you should educate yourself about the candidates and the issues that are important. And then third, vote by mail or in person, whichever suits you. Very simple 1, 2, 3 process. So if we go to the next slide, to register to vote, you must be a U.S. citizen who turns 18 by election day. You can be 18 on November 3rd, 2020. You can register to vote now, and if they see your birthday is within that parameter, you will be registered to vote. This is a very important website, votespa.com. You can do a ton of things there. Yes, you can register to vote there, but also if you are registered and your address has changed or you want to change your party, you can do it on votespa.com fairly easily. Or obviously you can complete a paper registration form and mail it to your local county election bureau. To complete the form, you'll need your driver's license, and you don't need specifically a driver's license. There is also a PennDOT identification card that some people who do not have a driver's license, they get that card for identification. The number on there works also, either one of those, or the last 4 digits of your social security number. If you are registering online and you use the last 4 digits of your social security number, you will be asked to upload your signature. They use your driver's license to compare your signature with PennDOT. With your social security number, they don't have that ability. So it's an added step if you're doing it online and using your SSN rather than a driver's license or that ID from PennDOT. The deadline to register to vote is 15 days before the election. This was just changed in the past year. It used to be 30 days. So the date is October 19th, but don't wait, because obviously processing takes a while and we want to make sure that you get registered to vote. So do it as soon as possible and encourage your family and friends to also do it as soon as possible. Okay, next slide. The second step we said after you educate yourself is to find out about candidates and issues. And I've listed here, and I haven't given credit to Carol Descani, a member of our league, has put this together for us and has done some research to come up with these particular websites. The first one, Vote 411, is a League of Women Voter website. We maintain that particular website, and you can do a number of things at that website. It actually, you can click on register to vote and it will take you to the state site to register to vote. You can check your voter registration status by, again, we will take you to votespa.com. But more importantly is the button that says find what's on your ballot. If you click on that, a screen is going to come back, ask you to choose a language. You can view it in Spanish or English. And after you do that and submit it, it's going to ask for your address. You just put in your street, city address, submit that, and what will come back are the offices that are up for election that you will see on your ballot, your particular ballot. You can click on any one of those, President, Auditor General, your particular congressional district. If you have a state senator also up for election, that will be visible there. If you click on the office, it'll show you the candidates who are running. What the league does is send an email to these candidates and ask them to go online and complete this. They don't send the information to us for us to enter it. They enter it directly themselves. We do not edit it. We do not change anything that is there. And no other candidate has the ability to change another candidate's information. They can only enter their own. They usually put a short bio. There will be a description of the job and the salary for that particular job. And then we've posed 2 or 3 questions to each candidate, and their answers will appear there. That gives you the opportunity to see what their positions are on the different questions we have asked. What you're going to find on Vote 411 is that many candidates have not responded. So you will see that perhaps one candidate has answered everything, and the other candidate, it's going to say, we have no response from them. We have asked at least twice for them to respond. if you are seeing a candidate that you're very interested in, you may want to reach out to them and say, could you update this so I can compare what you're saying to the other candidate? But there are others where both candidates have answered, and it gives you the opportunity to compare how they feel about certain things, and hopefully allow you to make a decision of which is the better candidate for that particular job. Campuselect.org has been developed more for the college student type thing. It was a national group that was supposed to help the administrators and the faculties and the students weed through the election thing. When you go to this particular website, you'll click on a state, presumably Pennsylvania, since that's where we live. And they have now mostly presidential information. They do have senatorial information also, but we're not electing a senator in Pennsylvania to the federal Congress at this time. What you will see is that they have listed various issues. And again, because this is for college, these are issues they feel that college students would be concerned. And what they then do is, since it's mostly presidential, is they will list the two candidates' positions on those issues. They get that information by going to speeches that the candidates have made, things that they have published, to try to use their words to tell you what the candidates feel about whatever the issue is, whether it's environment, whether it is COVID, whether it is paying for college tuitions, which has been a big issue on college campuses. So it is a good place to see, particularly the presidential candidates at this point, whether they expanded to other candidates. We just have to keep checking the website. So you can always go there and see in their own words how they feel about a particular issue. The next two are kind of, because we always worry, we are bombarded with television ads, news media things. We just got a ton in the mail today from the candidates telling us why they are the greatest. And you're going, okay, what's the truth? The next two, factcheck.org. You can choose a particular topic and see what a candidate has said, what you're seeing printed is in fact true or not. I should have said for all of these, whatever website you go to, one of the things you want to look at is who's sponsoring this particular website, because sometimes it can color what they're saying. On the ones we have here, we have checked. This particular fact check takes no money from unions or partisan organizations or advocacy groups. And there is a search capability. And again, this is mostly fact checking on things the presidential candidates have said. Mostly that's what's there. PolitiFact.com, similarly, in the upper left-hand corner there, you can click on a menu, and what drops down is a lot of subjects to choose from. For instance, issues or particular candidates or any kind of things like that. And what will come back are statements made relative either to that issue or by that candidate. And what they do that's clever is they have this little meter underneath that statement. And the meter ranges from false to mostly false to half true to mostly true to true. and their worst rating is pants on fire. And for those of us who remember the liar, liar, pants on fire, that's where they get that kind of thing. So and they then, if you click on that particular statement where they are saying it's false or it's true, they will explain to you how they came to the conclusion that that is true or not true, or if they're saying it's half true. Well, yes, the sky is blue most days, but yesterday it was kind of gray. So when the candidate said the sky is always blue, that was kind of half true, because half the time it's blue. And obviously that was a made up example. Ballotpedia.org is another very good place to go. On the left side of the menu, there is a button to click that says what's on your ballot. It too comes back and asks for an address, and it will then bring back, as 411 does, the positions that are up for election in your particular municipality. What is different about this is it returns for the candidates a bio. It will also talk about key votes that they have done, so you can see a voting record. Now, obviously, if this person has not held office before, the candidate running, you're not going to see the key vote kind of thing, because obviously they haven't had that opportunity. Committees, again, more to the incumbent person, if they've served on committees, what committees they have served on, and other kind of information like that. So it gives you a good background, particularly if they're an incumbent and on their voting record, and you can see if they have voted the way you would want a candidate to vote. With the opponent who may not have served before, it's difficult to do a comparison of how they would feel about those particular issues. There's one other site that I'll mention that isn't listed here, and it's votesmart.org, VOTESMART.org. And on this, there's a block for you to type in a candidate's name, and it comes back with a nice little picture of the candidate. And underneath, there are things that you can choose to ask about the candidate. Obviously, bio, again, votes, positions they have held. There is a rating that is done by various organizations, and you can see how they're rated by various organizations. Speeches. What I found most interesting was there is a fundraising button, and you can click on that and you can see where the candidate has received funding. After you get over the shock of how much money these candidates raise, you can see who is supplying the money. And that may be of interest to you to see what organizations are funding these particular candidates. So that would be another one that you could see what they have done historically and educate yourself about the candidates that way. So if we want to move on to the next slide. Having said these particular websites are not taking special interest money and they are trying to give you the facts for you to make a decision. But there are a lot of other places that are partisan, that are leaning toward candidate A rather than candidate B. Individual candidates' websites are obviously one of those, because if I'm running for office, you can be assured that I'm going to look really, really, really good on my website. It would be silly for me to not tell you how great I am on my website. So you have to look at that. You see, however, they normally talk about their positions on different issues. And that's information that you may want to look at on their individual websites. Obviously, Facebook, Twitter. Got to be careful. If you see something on there, you may want to go back to one of those fact checks or PolitiCheck websites to determine the validity of the things you're seeing on Facebook or Twitter. The one in the middle, allsides.com, is a website that attempts to do a bias rating of various media, because some media is biased, is leaning one way or the other. Some leaning much more, some just leaning a little bit. And so what this website tries to do is let you know whether this particular newspaper, television, radio, whatever you heard something on, if they have a bias, that helps you decide whether you're hearing the story totally unbiased. So these are places that you may want to go. The last one on this kind of partisan information is, if there is an issue that you are really concerned about, there is probably an organization that is concerned about that issue too, and they will have a website. The example I'm going to use is Fair Districts, if you've heard of them. They are the organization that does not like how our political districts have been determined, how they are drawn. And they have been trying to get legislation passed to have an independent committee do it rather than the legislatures draw the districts. Well, Fair Districts has a website, and they have asked candidates their position on fair districts and whether they agree that we should change this. So if that's an issue you're interested in, you may want to check their website to see what the candidates have told them about their position on fair districts. And fair districts is one of many, 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 many issues. Whatever your concern may be, there are other places out there that you can hear specific response to a specific issue, or you can hear from an organization that feels the same way you do about an issue, who they think the best candidates are relative to that issue. Of course, understand that's one issue. There are a whole lot of issues that these candidates will deal with in their time in service. So picking a candidate based on one particular issue, but if it's a very important issue to you, it may help you better decide, if you're on the fence, which candidate you like. You can go ahead. So we've registered. We found out about candidates to try and select the best one. So you have two ways of voting. You can vote in person, and you can find your polling place on that voter registration card that is mailed to you after you submit your voter registration application. Or there is our trusty old votespa.com again. And on there is a button to select to find your polling place. Polls are open on Election Day, which is November 3rd, Tuesday, November 3rd, from 7 a.m. till 8 p.m. I'm sure they will be enacting social distancing. They will probably require a mask while you're in the polling place. If this is the first time that you will be voting at that address, you've moved, first time you're voting at this particular polling place, they may ask you for a photo ID or an ID that has your address on, if you, again, are voting at that polling place for the very first time. Other than that, they will not ask for ID. Actually, they are not supposed to ask for ID at that time. Okay, go ahead. You can go to the next slide.
Actually, Shirley, I had a quick question.
Question, yes, yes.
I'm wondering, so for instance, my polling place has changed, but my home address has not. Will I need
Right.
to show an ID since it's a new location for me?
You will not.
Okay,
You will not.
thanks.
Because that happened to me in the primary kind of thing, that the polling place. And I want to make sure I'm not lying to you. Carol Descani is a judge of elections, and she also is a member, and I think she may be on this call. I am correct that with the changes, Dauphin County has made changes of polling places because of COVID and issues in finding poll workers. Carol, if you're there and can unmute yourself, that is correct. Just because of that, I shouldn't have to show ID.
Yes, that's correct, Shirley.
Hey, one for me. Okay. So, yeah, thank you, Carol. So you will not, Dauphin County has done a lot of that. Actually, they've done 2 waves of it so far. And on the League of Women Voters website, under a news on our website, are the articles that talk about the changed polling places. But if your polling place changed, you should have been mailed a new voter registration card that has your new polling place on it. But if you want to check, you can check that article on our website. So we can go ahead now. Okay, other way to vote, by mail or absentee ballot. And here's the big question, what's the difference? This has been a confusing thing. We have always had absentee ballots for those people physically unable to get themselves to the polls, or for people who, because of business, are going to be out of town on election day, or your vacation is running over election day. So we've always had that. And it is in the Pennsylvania Constitution defining what qualifies as a person who can vote by absentee ballot. However, last fall, the Pennsylvania legislature passed 77 that allowed mail-in, no excuse ballots, that you don't have to be physically unable to get to the poll. You don't have to be out of town. You can still do a mail-in ballot. And it came at a fortuitous time because then COVID hit. And now, because of the concern of going to the polls and potential infections, we can do mail-in ballots. No excuses required, but for either of these, you must apply, send in an application to get a ballot to mail in or do it absentee. And again, here we are back at votespa.com. When you go on there, it asks the normal questions, but it also asks, I think there are 4 questions, that is going to determine whether you are an absentee ballot person or a mail-in ballot person. It's going to ask, will you be away over that time? Are you physically unable to? If you answer yes to any of those questions, it's going to take you to the absentee ballot application rather than the mail-in ballot application. Only difference on those 2 applications is the absentee ballot is going to ask for the reason that you're doing it by absentee ballot. And mail-in ballot asks for no reason. But doesn't matter which of those you use. The ballot that you get is identical. Everybody gets the same ballot. Whether you go in person, whether they mail you the ballot, they will be the same ballots. Okay, let's go forward. So you must apply for the mail-in or the absentee ballot by 5 p.m. on the Tuesday before the election, which is October 27th this year. But don't wait is in big, bold letters, because that is 1 week before the election. And the election office has to get that application, has to process it, has to put your ballot in the mail, has to get the mail to get the ballot to you. You have to fill out the ballot and you have to get it back in 1 week. So don't wait, because there were problems in some places that the ballot did not get to the individual early enough for them to get it back to the polling place. The legislature has been toying with changing this to make it 2 weeks or 3 weeks before that day that you must request the absentee ballot. But at this juncture, you can still wait up to October 27th, but please don't. And you may be aware, if you applied for one in the spring, you are also able to mark it that you want to be a permanent mail-in person, and you don't then have to apply every time that an election comes up. But the mail-in and absentee ballots, once you get the ballot back after you've sent in your application, and I don't believe they've, in Dauphin County anyway, mailed them out yet to anyone. There were a lot of issues, only one of which was resolved last week, that hindered them from printing them until now. So they should be coming out shortly. But once you get the ballot, it's like those tests you used to take, you know, where you color in the circle next to the name of the person you want to vote for. And once you've completed that, it must be postmarked by 8:00 p.m. on Election Day, November 3rd. This is the new change that was made by the courts over the weekend. Postmarked by that date, and then must be received in your county elections office by 5 p.m. on the 3rd day after Election Day. So Election Day is November 3rd. Have it postmarked November 3rd. The mail has got to get to the office by the November 6th, the Friday following that Election Day on Tuesday. So that's why as soon as you get the ballot, fill it out, send that back in as quickly as you can to ensure that it gets there timely. We'll move on.
Shirley, we
Yeah,
have
you
a
have a
question in the chat box. Yep.
Yep.
So someone wants to know, they say they heard that some changes have been made by the Postmaster General and the Post Office that will make it difficult for deliveries. How are the changes going to affect the deliveries for ballots?
There was a lot of discussion about that a little while ago, that they had removed mailboxes from various locations where they were, and that they had shut down some sorting machines. These were changes made by the Postmaster General, and there was concern that that would hinder the ability for the ballots to get there on time. At a point, and I'm not sure how long ago this was, there was agreement that the Postmaster General said that I'm not doing any more, I'm stopping. Now, of course, he didn't put back the mailboxes that he had already removed, but he said, we will make no more changes. We will not do anything like that until after the election. It is very difficult to say that that is going to affect the election one way or the other. The post office, and I'm a letter writer, mail my checks to the company that sent me the bill, unlike many people who email and pay bills online. So I really like the post office. So I'm one of these people that have found it to be very efficient in getting things where they need to be, when they need to be there. But again, that's why we are highly recommending you mail early, to give it as much time as possible so that that does not become a problem. They are going to be inundated. There is an estimated millions and millions of mail-in ballots, not just in Pennsylvania, but across the country. And that volume of mail is certainly going to have an effect, even if machines had not been removed, because that's a huge influx of mail. It's like when people used to send Christmas cards at Christmas time, the post office went crazy with the volume of mail that came in. But at this juncture, and again, Carol, jump in if you have more to add to this, I don't think that there is as much concern that's going to be a problem in mail-in. Can you add to that?
I know that the postmaster sent letters to several states, including Pennsylvania, notifying us that it would be difficult to meet our deadlines. So that's why, again, we just say, don't wait until the last minute. As soon as you get your ballot, fill it out and send it back in. That's the best thing for you to do.
Yes. And I think we're going to get to it on another screen. There is a way for you to check the status of your ballot to ensure that it has been received, and we'll talk about that in a second, because the next bullet point is a very important one. Follow the ballot instructions very carefully. You're going to get, if you have not used this before, you're going to get 2 envelopes with it. One of them is called the secrecy envelope. So once you've completed your ballot, colored in all the little circles, folded up your ballot, you put it first of all in the secrecy envelope, seal it, and you must sign the secrecy envelope on the back that you've completed it. Then the secrecy envelope goes into the mailing envelope, and the governor has dictated that the postage will be paid on that mailing envelope to mail your ballot back. So you don't even have to put a stamp on it. But it's very important that you use both envelopes, because part of the decision of the court over the weekend, some people were just putting their ballot in the mailable envelope and sending it in. And some municipalities were accepting that. The court has now said if it is not in the secrecy ballot, they cannot count that ballot. So this becomes a very important point, that you remember to use the secrecy ballot, put the secrecy ballot then in the mail-in envelope. Use the secrecy envelope and put the secrecy envelope in the regular mail envelope. Very important to follow those instructions. Ballots must be returned by mail or in person. You may have heard of drop boxes. It is up to each county to decide if they will have drop boxes, places where you can go and, like a mailbox, and just drop it in and be collected there. Dauphin County will have no drop boxes. You can, however, take it in person to the Dauphin County Election Bureau, which is in the building at the corner of 2nd and Market Street in downtown Harrisburg. But it is open Monday through Friday from like 9 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon, and you can drop it off there. But the important point on here is, because parking is so terrible there, your husband can't drop you off and you can't carry your husband and your ballot in to hand them in. Each of you must take your own ballot in. You cannot take a ballot in, for someone else. So keep that in mind if you determine that you want to deliver it in person, to ensure that it gets there. There was a question there and I didn't see it. Ashley, what are they asking?
Oh, sorry, I couldn't unmute myself. It says, is anything being done by the state to educate regarding the secrecy envelope?
Probably not. Probably not. The instructions for that are with the ballot. They tell you, fold this up, put it in this envelope, sign the back of that envelope, then put that envelope in the mail-in thing. So I'm sure, like with most teachers, if you read the directions, you would know what you're supposed to do is probably the concept. I don't think they're doing anything above and beyond the instructions that come with it. And again, Carol, I'll turn to your expertise if you know of anything they're doing.
No, I'm not aware of anything because the process is not changing. What's
Right.
changed is the Supreme Court's decision that those ballots won't count if they're not in the secrecy envelope. So I'm not aware of any plan to educate the public. That would be a good thing to put on votespa.com.
Ah, thank you. Thank you. That's a good idea. We can do that and as well as our own website. But yes, Carol's point is very good. It's always been that way, but it was just before some election bureaus were counting them even though they weren't in the security thing. Supreme Court has said, no, 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 can't do that anymore. So I will talk to the vote 411 to see if they can put something on there to emphasize. Now, part of the problem is this is a nationwide website, and you know, this is certainly a Pennsylvania issue. So we'll see how we can get the message out. Again, that only works if people go to those websites and see that. So please make sure people know that, follow the instructions carefully. Oh, here's a good one. And I am definitely turning this question over to Carol. Can you change your mind once you've requested a mail-in ballot? Carol has dealt with this as judge of election at a polling place in Dauphin County.
Yes, you can change your mind. It will make your life a little more complicated at your polling place. There are two options. If you bring your ballot along with you, it can be spoiled, and that's a term of art. It'll be spoiled by the judge of elections, and then you can vote by a regular ballot. The other option, and this happened a lot in the primary, is if you come in and say, well, I mailed my ballot yesterday, but I don't know if it's going to get there in time. If that happens and you don't have your ballot with you, then you will be able to vote a provisional ballot, which is a little bit more time consuming, but it's still a ballot. What happens with the provisional ballot is that the county elections office will then compare, or not compare, but they will see if you have both a mail-in ballot and a provisional ballot recorded. And if you do, then they'll just accept the mail-in ballot. So it does make it a little more complicated, but it's certainly doable.
But again, we highly recommend that you decide, I'm going to do it this way or this way, and follow through with that. I know many people were concerned in the spring about their ballot actually getting there and being counted. But Carol has given you your options to do if in fact you change your mind. But if you have not mailed in your ballot, you must bring it with you to the polling place so she can spoil it. In other words, void it out. Okay, we can move forward. Changes for voting in 2020. This I mentioned briefly. You can be placed on a permanent absentee or mail-in voter list. And so for this year, they will just automatically mail you your ballot. You do not have to apply again. If you marked on your first application that you want to be on a permanent list, then in February of the next year, they're going to immediately send out an application for you to again request to be on mail-in for the whole year or just the primary if you wish. The change that the law made in the past year was no straight party voting anymore, which means you can't just pick the Republican or the Democrats and say, give me all of the guys that are under there. They're going to make you color in the boxes for each of the names if you want all the Republican or all the Democrat or all the Green Party candidates, you're going to have to color in each box. This is not new. We are back to our old standby votespa.com that you can check your registration. You can register there. You can check the status of your registration. You can change your address or your party affiliation. You can request the mail-in ballot. And also it has the place to check the status of your ballot. If you go to Votes PA, down toward the bottom, there's a place you can click. And what you do is it asks for your name, your birth date, and your county. And what will come back is, and this is for mail-in ballot only, whether they've received the application, whether they've processed, the date they processed the application, the date they mailed you the ballot, and the date they received your ballot. Now, having said that that is there, and I can say this because I worked for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania for 33 years, governments do not work real fast. So sometimes, because I applied for a mail-in ballot and I got an email that said they received it, but when I went to that website, I did not see a date that they received it, although I had an email that they received it. So there was some time delay kind of thing there, which certainly can make people nervous if it's getting close to the time, which brings us back to what we've been saying over and over and over again. Do it as soon as possible. Get that in as quickly as you can. Return the ballot as quickly as you can so that you don't have those heart palpitations of, did it get there or didn't it get there? Okay, go on. What's next?
We have a
Oh,
question.
you have a
in the
question.
chat box. If I can't remember if I requested mail-in or not, is there a way to check that?
That particular Votes PA ballot status thing is one way to check it, or you can always call your county election office to determine whether they have received an application for you. So you can check that way. But I would check the website first, because if you back in the spring marked that you wanted a permanent ballot, on that website, you are going to see that the request and the process date is back in March, April, whenever you did that. And so you'll see that you must be on the permanent one because they have a date from like 6 months ago. Otherwise, you know, you should see on there that you recently did it, or check with your county office. More questions, or we ready to go on? Okay. We throw this in mostly to scare younger people. In the 2016 presidential election, 71% of those eligible to vote that were 65 years and older voted. But only 43% of the eligible 18 to 24-year-olds voted. And the number is even less if you cut the age down to like the 18 to 20, the percentage drops even lower. And when we talk to younger people, and I don't know if we have any younger people on this particular thing, we point out to them that probably those 65-year-olds have some different interests, have some different ideas than you do at 18 to 24. Pretty darn sure they do. So who is making the decision here about which direction we want to see particular things go? Well, it's the people who go out and vote. And so if it's these older people, that question at the bottom is very, very important. Who do you want to decide your future? Very important. People often ask me, well, I voted, my guy didn't win, so what's the point? Well, the point is he didn't win this time, but that should make you more determined that next time we're going to try and fight harder to get the people we want in the particular office. So as discouraging as it may be that at an election, the people you voted for didn't win, don't let that stop you from going back and saying, okay, we've got to try a little harder here because I care about XYZ, and I'm going to see that we have a candidate in who also cares about XYZ. Next slide. I think we're almost at the end. We're going to reiterate those important dates. The last day to register to vote before November's election is October 19th, only a couple weeks away. The last day to request your mail-in or absentee ballot, October 27th. Again, stressing, don't wait until then, doesn't give them a lot of time to get the ballot to you. Those mail-in absentee ballots must be postmarked by 8 p.m. on Tuesday, November the 3rd, and received in the county elections office by 5 p.m. November 6th. And if you were thinking, oh, well, I didn't get it into the post office on November 3rd, so I'll just walk it in by Friday, November the 6th. No, 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 no. You cannot. They have that 3-day grace for the post office to get the ballots to the Election Bureau, but they will not accept any walk-ins after Election Day, November 3rd. So it must be postmarked, and the post office will get it to them within 3 days. And I think the last ballot is our advertisement. This is the League of Women Voters of the Harrisburg area website. This presentation that we are doing is there under the topic resources. So if you want to share what we went through, or some of those websites we went too fast, you weren't clear, or if you go to the website, you can obviously click on the websites for the fact checking and the vote 411, and it'll take you to those websites. I believe Ashley said this is being recorded and you're putting it out on a library site as well, Ashley?
Yes, if it's all right with you, we will put it up on our YouTube page and share that link out with all the registrants.
Okay.
And yes, so it'll be available there probably next week.
Okay. So that concludes our presentation. Are there other questions, something we did not address that you were hoping to learn? No? Okay. Again, thank you very much for allowing us to share this information with, I got lost again because you took that down.
Oh, I'm
Mary.
sorry.
No, it's not your fault. It's I'm too cheap to buy a better computer. We appreciate that opportunity because this is a cornerstone of the League's work to educate people, to help them through this process. And right now it can be a confusing process because things change and there are various concerns, and we want to try and make people feel comfortable that mail-in ballots are safe and the post office is going to do a good job in getting them there, but help them by not waiting till the last minute. So again, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Shirley. So that is it for our program tonight, everyone. Thank you for attending. If you come up with any last minute questions, please feel free to email me. You have my work email address now, my direct email address, and I will pass those along to Shirley. So thank you again, and I hope everyone has a great night.
Yes, thank you.